Welcome to Conversations with You. Thank you all for being here. I'm so excited to have so many of you with us. We are holding, this is our visual art alumni panel, and we're so happy to have you all here to join in and learn from some of our visual art alumni. My name is Kira Leeds. I am Usdan's Community Relations Senior Associate. I am also an actor, and I am also an alum of this program as well. And in order to get us all in the Usdan spirit and remind our panelists of what it was like to be at Usdan as a camper and to hear a little bit more about our art department, our visual art department, we're going to play a quick video for you to all get a sense of what it's like. Olivia, take it away. Thank you for that. I love seeing all of our creative students in that video. I can't wait to hear more about our panelists' stories of what they were like at camp. And with that, I would love to introduce our friend and our host or moderator for this evening, Michelle Simone Miller. Michelle, please introduce yourself to our community today.
Thanks, Kira. Hi, guys. My name is Michelle Miller. So I am an actress in New York, and I'm also an alum of Usdan, which is amazing. And I also host a podcast called Mentors on the Mic. I interview different people in the entertainment industry. I love moderating panels. I love hosting. I love interviewing. So I'm very excited for this, specifically because this is something that we've been creating. This is our third in a series of panels. So I'm gonna read a little message about this particular series that we're creating called Conversations with You. So through Conversations with You, Usdan's panel discussion series, we bring together alumni from various fields to discuss their careers and lives. Through Conversations with You, we hope to connect our impassioned community and draw inspiration from the ways in which former Usdan students are contributing creatively to the world. Our next event, guys, mark your calendar, is Tuesday, June 14th, the same time as now, and we'll feature alumni from our dance department, which is very exciting. So we hope you'll enjoy us. Olivia is gonna eventually put the link to the registration, there we go, in the chat. And we also just did a theater panel and a music panel, which are available as a recording if you want to check that out. So those are really, really cool. We've also been putting clips on social media and they're available. So if you want them, let us know in the chat. Speaking of, I want to know who's out there in the audience, right? Who are you? So we're going to do some polling questions. In a bit, you're going to get a little message that pops up and it's going to ask you, who are you? So that's the first question. I am a what? I'm an alum. I'm a current camper. I'm a parent or caregiver of a camper. I'm staff or faculty. I'm a donor. I'm also going to be answering this question, by the way. Or I'm a friend. I'm just new to Usdan. And then the other one is what brings you here today? So are you interested in just learning more about the visual art industry? Are you interested in reconnecting with fellow alums? Are you just here because you just miss Usdan? You're just nostalgic? Or you're just here for fun? All answers are great answers. So I'm gonna do, I have so many. I'm gonna just pick one, but it's a hard choice for me. So in a minute, we're gonna have the results pop up and then we're gonna have an idea of who's in the audience. Who are you guys? Who's the you in Conversations with You? But yeah, I'm really, really excited about this. We're so grateful. Oh, look at this. Okay, so we have mostly alum and parents, which I love. There's a few current campers out there, I see you, and some staff and faculty, and then some that are just friends. So we love you, we appreciate you. And then most people, oh, that was gone. But cool, we have it. Oh, thank you. Okay, so most people are here just for fun, and some people are here just interested in learning more about the industry. We got you. We appreciate you guys. Thank you. It's good for us to know. And by the way, before we actually start and introduce our wonderful panelists, I just want to ask you guys: do you have any type of panels or workshops that you guys want to see? Because we were coming up with all these creative ideas. We're right now just doing panels from each department. We're really excited about that. But if there are ideas that you want to see from alum or from, maybe like a more of a one-on-one thing or workshop, let us know. We'd love to hear your ideas. You can email us, you can write in the chat. Feel free to talk to us about this because these are for you guys. These are for all of us. We want to build this community. So let us know. Perfect. Okay. So we are going to start now. I'm so excited. We have a panel of incredible people who are visual artists. Those are championing artists. They're teaching other artists and so forth. So I'm going to start asking our wonderful panelists, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then one memory of Usdan. It could either be a memory. It could either be just telling us a little bit about what kind of camper you are. I'll start. I think I told the bee story last time. So I wonder if I told the story. One of my favorite things that I think of with Usdan is I was in Fiddler on the Roof. And I remember my sister went to camp at the same time. And I was super, super excited that my sister will come see me in my play. And after, musical, but after the show, I went to find her and she wasn't there. And she's my younger sister, so she really should have been there. And I went to her and she goes, oh, I saw my counselor's talent show at the same time and completely forgot you were in the show, didn't make it. And for some reason, I still have it in me. Doesn't matter how many shows she's been to since. I'm like, come on, Fiddler on the Roof. You were the one person you were supposed to come. So it's all good. But that's one thing I always kind of laugh at when I think of Usdan and I kind of fondly make fun of her for. Amalia, how about you go first? So just tell us a little bit about yourself and then who are you as a camper? Do you have a fun camp memory that you'd like to share with all of us?
Sure. So my name is Amalia Drews. I'm an artist and a graphic designer. I work as a teacher, but also as a freelance artist throughout the year. I graduated from Parsons School of Design with a BFA in illustration. And I also just started my own business called Visual Remedies, where I'm creating art to help people heal, especially during times of great grief and when people go through loss. So that's been a beautiful journey for me. And I'm happy to say, yes, I was a camper at Usdan back in the early 2000s. And it was such a lovely, lovely time. I don't see how I would be where I am now without going to Usdan and having those teachers and having those friends and having that type of support when I was younger. And to backpack off of that, I think that's one of my favorite memories is having that beautiful gallery at Usdan and going in there and seeing what the teacher picked out of my portfolio that she really liked. And I remember it was up on the wall and she came to me and she said, what you did was really beautiful. And I remember we had drawn a portrait and she said, don't just take peach and start using it. People have different colors in their skin. Even if, for someone like me, I might, you might see like a peach complexion, but there's reds and blues and greens. And I remember she said, use all those colors. And I did. And it was basically just a rainbow all over the face. And I remember her saying, you did a beautiful job. And that was a really important memory for me because it projected my career from there. It made me think, I'm an artist, people believe in me. And so I believed in myself.
Oh my God, well said. Way to start us off with that. I'm like visualizing you there with the painting and with the rainbow face. It's so cool. And I want to hear more also about we'll talk more about your projects and stuff, because it sounds really amazing and impactful. And Amalia, you're going to be working at Usdan, correct?
Yes, I am. I'm happy to say this will be my third year working
Yes.
at Usdan, and I'll be teaching painting and drawing. I'm very
So
excited.
if there's anyone in the audience that's going to be, can you like let us know in the chat or something, or let us know if you're going to be maybe taking her class, because that would be really cool for her and for
Oh
us.
yes, it would be so cool to see your face ahead of time.
Yeah, you had a little sneak peek. Excellent. Okay, Marie, you're next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Marie St. Cyr, and I am the CEO of St. Cyr Art Studio. So I went to Usdan for my junior and senior year. And so it was only 2 years, but it was 2 amazing years. And I think that was the moment where I was really able to focus on the arts, and it made me think about, what a career in the arts could look like for me. So I really just took the time to practice a lot of different techniques, meet a lot of people. I also, like some of the people that I went to the camp with, I ended up meeting later in life, just like randomly. We're like, oh, hey. So that was kind of fun. But yeah, and then I also ended up working there for my senior year. So that was kind of nice. But I would definitely say it started my trajectory and just trying to figure out how to form my career path in the arts. So currently I am a fine artist, but my main focus is really running the commercial mural company. So we do murals for not only schools, but corporations, government, nonprofits. It varies a lot. Like currently we're doing about 5 murals every week. So I work with about like 35 plus muralists, 8 designers, and that's just for the New York City schools for the spring. But we do projects for like stadiums, for offices. So it varies a lot. It's not just one set industry, but the cool thing about it is a lot of times we engage people who are not artists in the design and the painting process. So it's a really cool experience to kind of like see how the arts can bring people together, and then the lasting impact it can have. But it's also cool to be able to create work for other artists and then kind of create a platform where they themselves can go out and start something on their own.
That is so cool. I mean, I kind of expected that because I knew your background, but I still think that's so cool. And at some point, I'm going to ask to see your murals, because that sounds amazing. But you do murals not only for New York City public schools, which makes me excited because I went to a couple New York public schools, but also stadiums. I mean, that's incredible. So we're definitely going to go back to that. And then Christina, if you could just give us the same thing, a little spiel about who you are and maybe some sort of Usdan thing, or like who you were as a camper in Usdan.
Yeah, thanks so much, Michelle. So lovely to be alongside you, Amalia and Marie. I'm excited to chat with both of you about specific things after hearing more about your background. So so happy to be alongside both of you. It's funny because I actually went to Usdan, I guess I was around 12 or 13. It was the summer of Rent, if anybody is familiar with that, and the soundtrack of Rent. So if you don't know what Rent is, you should go check out the soundtrack, because it was very inspiring to, I'm sure, a lot of us on this call. But I was in the dance department. I wasn't in the visual arts department. So I come to the visual arts forum from a little bit of a different perspective. So as a kid, I had, and I'm sure a lot of you have this experience too, different kinds of creative outlets. And I think being at the Usdan experience at that time, I was lucky enough and privileged enough to get to experience different sides of my creative outlets. And I did end up in a career in visual arts. I'm not a visual artist myself, although the organization I work for does believe, and we believe as an art collective, that everyone is an artist. And we really try to engage with individuals and touch upon being a kid again and not losing that sense of creativity. So I'm head of communications and collaborations and business at For Freedoms, which is an organization that was founded by artists and is artist led. And it includes all different types of artists. And our mission is to really use art and individuals and artists to inspire civic engagement and to connect with each other. And I guess one of my early memories of Usdan, and I was only there for one summer, was the performances. And I remember them being on a daily basis, but I don't know if that's true, maybe a weekly basis. And I'm pretty sure Savion Glover was one of the performers that came out that summer, and it was pretty mind-blowing. And I felt so lucky, and it was just such a beautiful summer. So I hope you guys have the same.
So cool. I love that. This is, I mean, it's so great. I think, yeah, I mean, that we have here who affirmed that is a daily thing, that performances happen daily, which is really cool. There's so much there. I mean, and listen, we're so lucky to have all three of you. The idea was being, you know, there are different ways of being in the virtual art, you know, I'm so used to virtual stuff now, but the visual art space, you know, you can create art in different ways. You can help other artists create, you can be in an organization with art. I mean, there's so many ways we can be in this space. So we're definitely going to want to get into this further. But at the beginning, kind of just want to start at the beginning here. For those who maybe want to go into art or just interested, what was your first thing? How did you guys, I mean, everyone's journey is different. So how did you guys start in the art world? And how, you know, was it something that you started creating? Was it something that you had to do with other people? Did you join this or an organization and that was your first lead in? And I guess, I mean, anyone can start, but I was thinking actually, let's start with Amalia, because you went specifically to Parsons. And I kind of want to know how Parsons was as a place to start that, you know, journey. Maybe you started before, but in general, how did that start your career and then so forth?
I think, you know, sometimes people are like, why'd you go to school for art? You don't need to go to school for art, but you do. You learn how the industry is changing. You know, I came in and I was, you know, traditional painting and drawing, you know, sculpture, all, you know, mixed media work. But the truth and reality is that the art world is really gravitated towards digital and graphic design. So even though I really wanted to do all my traditional mediums, it was really, really important for me to learn Adobe programs, learn how to make videos, learn how to do graphic design, learn how to do animation, because that's what people are looking for when they're hiring you as an artist. So it was really, really important to go to college and go to Parsons, especially because, you know, having professors was really important. People who have been doing this their whole lives, people who have experience, and networking is important. And that's the first place you can start networking, is through your teachers, through your professors, and through your classmates. And that ended up being my first job, was being an artist assistant for one of my professors. Ooh. So, and that's a great job. That's a great one to start out with, because there are a lot of artists out there and they need help. And they're usually looking for people who just got out of school, just got out of high school or college. And that way you can kind of get your name in there. You can make a living. I was working with several different artists after that, and it just kept you know, going off of each other and getting more artists to work with. So yeah, that's kind of how I started.
Olivia, hold on. We'd love to hear more about that. Oh, this is for Gwen. Excellent. Love it, Amalia. Thank you for that. I mean, that's a great way to start a journey. And, you know, I do like to know these things, because as an actor, sometimes we talk to each other about, like, should we go to school and learn more, you know, about our chosen vocation and being an actor? And sometimes people say yes, and sometimes people say it's not necessary. So I was curious as to how it was in the I was going to say virtual again, in the visual arts space.
Right.
I don't know
the
why.
art
Maybe it's
world
because I've
is
seen you guys this way.
The art world is always changing. If you look at art history, nothing has stayed the same. So I think it's really important to be open to always learning new things, no matter what age you're at.
Love it. Christina Marie, either of you want to answer this next? What was your first thing? How'd you get started in this field?
Sure, I'll go. I didn't really, I guess, get introduced to the arts until middle school. So I came here from Haiti and they don't really have art programs there at 8. And then it was in middle school, I was kind of shy, so I read a lot of anime books. And then I started to just recreate the characters. And then I started drawing my own anime characters and created my own little story. And then I wanted to move to Japan and become a manga artist and all this stuff while I was in middle school. And then in high school, that's when I really started to get into fine arts. And my art teacher was like, you're really good. Maybe you should focus more on that instead of the anime. And then I started to focus more on that. And then around junior year, I really it just became a joy. And I was really thinking about how I could, combine my passion for art, education, and business, because I didn't really necessarily want to pick one. So I just really, for 2 years, really engaged in the arts. And every afternoon I was with my art teacher, just learning as much as I could. I went to the Fashion Institute of Technology. So when I was there, I took a lot of, because I had already, the good thing was when I went there, I didn't have to take any liberal classes because in high school, I kind of got all the credits covered. So
Nice.
I took a lot of extra classes, a lot of business classes, a lot of extra art classes, just to learn different things. Sophomore year, I spent 4 months in Florence, Italy, traveling, painting, learning about more like the fine arts technique. And then for the junior and senior year, it was really just trying to get more other skills besides the arts to combine it. Because when I graduated, I kind of felt like there was something else I was going to do, that I needed like education skills, business skills, and stuff like that. So that was kind of like, I guess, a bit of the journey from that to college. And it was a bit crazy after college. But the journey was just a lot of interest, a lot of curiosity, and finding people to help me learn those things, and just trying to be resourceful, and then kind of sometimes not following the traditional path and going somewhere different. And also, I guess one of the interesting journeys was in college. One thing I did, because I loved FIT, but one thing I wished I had improved was, as an art student, kind of learning how to support yourself when you leave our school, and just learning, about the different things you could do, learning about how to treat your art practice as a business, how to sell it, how to price it. When I left, I did have an understanding of those, but a lot of my peers did not. And that's something I felt like they kind of, got taken from them because they weren't really allowed to take those kind of classes. I took them, but I had to fight for it, kind of, because it wasn't really allowed.
Super smart of you to take that initiative and petition to take those classes.
Yeah.
It's quite sad that that wasn't part of your curriculum. But it's good that you did it. So then you knew.
Yeah.
That's great. Excellent. I'll also add, I was going to add something about the three of you, and I forgot what it was. Oh, just for people to know, I don't think I sent an agenda. So we're going to be talking about this. Guys, we're going to have Christina go next, but those in the audience, start thinking of questions you want to ask them, because in about 15 minutes or so, I'm going to open up for some Q&A, and I'll ask some of your questions. So feel free to start asking questions now in the chat. We'll collect them, and then in 15 minutes, I'll take some of them and I'll ask them. But Christina, how about you? Can you go next? What was your first thing? How did you start in this space?
Sure. Yeah. Thinking about where I am now and reflecting back on my journey, I really think about community and how important that is, not only now to me and the way I work and collaborating, but also growing up and in high school and finding your creative community and the kind of people that inspire you and you get excited about and want to create with. And I think that happened for me both in dance and visual art. And at a certain point, I moved further into my visual art career in high school and really spent time building a portfolio. And we had a new program at school. I went to public school on Long Island, and we had a new program at school that what was it called? It was kind of like an internship opportunity where you could leave school early and focus on a career of interest. And I started taking classes at Urban Glass in Brooklyn. And I had taken a stained glass class, and it really inspired me. And I began to go into Brooklyn, taking the train. I think it was like most of the year, my senior year in high school, as far as I can remember, and built a portfolio of that. And then started going to fine art school. I had a major in studio art at NYU. But it was a multidisciplinary school, so I could take classes across business, communications, music, dance, and from there, I think, yeah, the art world is a really weird and crazy place. But when you're going to school in New York, I think the three of us were really lucky to be in the middle of it and have professors that are working artists, which I think is a little bit different than some universities. So that was a really great experience. And like Amalia, like working for artists and with artists that are professionals, which I still do now. It's the beginning of your career, but I think it also can extend in so many different ways. I work currently not only at Four Freedoms, but for one of the founders, Hank Willis Thomas. And that's kind of how I reconnected with Usdan too, because an email came into the studio inviting Hank to speak. And I was like, oh my goodness, Usdan. and Lauren and I reconnected. So
that's so great.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And when the email went out about the talk, one of the parents reached out to me because we had collaborated in the photography world, and now his child is going into their first year. So it's very funny. Just,
it's so lovely.
Small world, the art world.
But that's like, I mean, just that alone is part of the reason we're even doing this. Like, even just something like that, where people go, wait, I didn't know that you went to Usdan too. And like, that's creating this community. And like, you guys know each other now, and people know you. And I think it always is part of this. It's creating this community, as you were bringing up. So it makes my heart really happy.
As artists, it can be really hard to find communities, because as an artist, you don't need to sometimes, like, you have your table, you have your materials, and you're alone and working on your art. But if you can find community in the art world, that is so special. I mean, that's why I love Usdan. That's why I love classes like your a glass class that you took, Christina, like, because you can get so much knowledge from your soul and your heart and your intuition, but you learn so much more when you're just in a room full of people. So if you can find a community, go for it.
It's actually, I wasn't going to ask this question, but this really sort of sparked it for me. I was just talking to a couple other fellow actors in New York. I'm in Brooklyn, right? So a couple other actors, and we were having a Zoom call like this. And we were talking about this very subject, the importance of collaboration, because in creating art, we often and can do it alone.
Right.
But it's just not as fun sometimes. Sometimes it's really necessary and cathartic, don't get me wrong. But sometimes there's so much fun in the inspiration of collaborating and like, talking it out with people. And art itself could be an isolating activity, but we could also find ways to find other artists who are doing similar things. Even if you're not creating the art in an isolated space by yourself, you can still talk to other people, get ideas for things, be inspired by other people. And I think that's huge. If anyone has any thoughts on like the idea of collaboration more, I don't want to jump the gun, just go right to the next question. But if anyone had any thoughts about it, I feel like
I can add to it. So we work with about 30 plus muralists, and they're all artists with their own art practice. Some are illustrators, some are painters. But when we come together to do the murals, it's really a lot of different hands that create one thing that looks like it was created by one hand. I mean, like tomorrow we have a really large project we're working on in the Bronx, and there's about 14 muralists that's going to be painting for 12 hours. But when you look at it, it doesn't look like there's 14 different people, that worked on it. It just looks like a cohesive thing. So there's a lot of, communication between the artists, and there's certain things put in place to make sure that everyone's like on the same page. But I think collaboration wise, them coming in and working with us and meeting other people and kind of like as they're painting, they talk to each other. A lot of them have become really, really great friends and inseparable, but they can then kind of connect with each other on their own and do their own things. And, we have some artists who come from out of state and work with us for a bit, and some who relocated from other countries. So they got to meet a lot of different artists. And also we have some artists who are as young as 17 and some who are in their 50s. So it's a variety of different types of artists that you'll work with. But it's like they're all coming together to collaborate to create one big whole piece of artwork.
I mean, listen, Maria, I have to ask, do you have any sort of murals that that were made by like multiple artists? I'd love if we could see them. Do you have anything on hand?
Yeah, sure. I
figured like now's the time. Let's ask, because I want to see what it is to see a mural that's that's done by multiple different artists. You think of what you were saying, you have to make sure it's cohesive. You have to, I mean, that's so cool.
So this is just a time lapse, but as you can see, this is 1/3 of the space.
Wow.
But there's a lot of different people working on it. They're moving around, doing their own thing, but there is a system set in place. So that way they understand where to go and what to do and all those stuff. And also a lot of them, the designers are also sometimes the ones who paint it. So it's kind of nice to see their digital design come to life. But yeah, and then I'll show like all of these are painted. Some of these are also painted by students. So sometimes when they're painted by students, we still have to make them look like they were painted by professional artists. But majority of these had like this was painted by like first to third graders also.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. We just come back and make it look like, clean it up for them. But a lot of time this was painted by middle school students.
Wow.
So there's a lot of different hands that come into it. But yeah, I'll stop sharing. But that's just like,
no, this is incredible. Also, this is your website, right? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I'll have to send your website and the follow-up email to everybody. And this also is really cool because I mean, I don't know much about art history. I wish I knew more, but I do know in the art history that I read, like I think back in the 40s and like 30s and maybe even earlier, they used to, like, especially when artists weren't making a lot of money, they would be commissioned to make murals right around the city. And so that was one way the government can make sure that the artists were still creating art, they were still painting. So I think, I mean, I just love that that's happening here and that you're a part of that. Yes, thank you. Okay, I was like, I vaguely remember this, but I think this is a thing.
Yeah, fresco.
Okay, great. No, this is fantastic. We really, really appreciate it. That was perfect. It was exactly what I was hoping to see in terms of thinking of all these people working on one project together.
Yeah, and speaking of community, I mean, look at how many people you're involving. You're involving schools, children, the community of the town that you're in, artists from different locations, artists for different ages. Like that's a really cool community that you've built. Very cool.
Thank you.
As we can see in like the background is all her like a lot of her art supplies and stuff. Cool. So next question I want to ask you guys is, how do you stay creative when things can get a little slow? Like specifically in the art world, in all forms of art, this is the case, but like things can get a little slow. Also with Christina, I want you to answer this yourself because, you're such a champion of other artists. You're part of this great organization. Do you still create art like as just a form of creativity within yourself as someone who is, and maybe the answer is no. I mean, that's totally like, right? That happens. But I wanted to kind of get your ideas to like, how do you guys make sure that you stay creative, especially during slow times? If you do, I mean, it could just be reading, it could just be writing, it could be whatever, but I just kind of was curious as to like what you guys do, especially when things kind of stood still with the pandemic and stuff.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in there. I do still create and make things. I actually just recently went back to a glass class after many years. So
That's amazing.
so I feel like I'm a beginner again. But part of that is being inspired by the artists around me. But yeah, I think I gravitate towards being in nature when I need inspiration or want creativity too. So like, of course, there's like, you know, the ideas and the excitement of being around community, but there's also the beauty and connection that I personally find in jumping in the ocean and going for a walk. And you know, as corny as this sounds, watching the eclipse and connecting with nature. So that's you know, very much where I find inspiration.
I love that. I also love that you're taking that class. But that's exactly what I mean. It's just like things like that. It's hard for some of us, you know, maybe there's people in the audience who used to do art or used to like be more creative, and they're like looking for ways to start up again. And maybe it's as simple as just taking a class where you're a beginner again. So I love that. And we don't know who you've inspired today. Anyone else? Who else wants to join in? How do you guys stay creative during this crazy time? Or what do you do to stay creative?
I can, well, so I actually don't do anything creative when I feel that mentally my creativity isn't there. I guess since I kind of have a bit of the creative and the business brain, when I feel that my creative juice isn't there, I actually do very tedious stuff, like Excel spreadsheet or just literally things that are the opposite of creativity. I think it relaxes my brain and it allows that other part to, like, you know, kind of feed into it. And other times I just honestly, I take courses online. I think last year I did about 11 different business programs because that was a year where creatively I wasn't like really there. So I just took the time to do a lot of learning about business, about just a lot of different things. And like this year is a year where I'm really like, you know, because usually what happens is I'll go months where I'm all good, and then I need like a few weeks to kind of like recharge. So those are the weeks where I'll take the time to do inventory, just do like all of the business, all of the non-creative side. And then I'll get the other few months of just creative. So it's kind of like a cycle of creativity and then business and then kind of like back and forth. But I think I honestly like that because it just gives my brain a bit of a balance of both, and I don't like burn out on each thing, I guess.
I love that. First of all, yeah, Christina was like, recharge is so important. It so is. And I love that because that also shows that you're doing so many creative things that you have to take a break from being creative, you know, and that's a great place to be in. And I also love this because I love to like think about like our signature strengths. I don't know if you guys have ever taken quizzes on signature strengths, but one of mine is love of learning. I think yours is also probably love of learning as well. I mean, taking so many,
Yeah.
do you take them on Coursera? Did you take them on like LinkedIn?
No.
Like, where do you find these courses?
So they're, so like 2 weeks ago, I graduated from the Goldman Sachs 10,000 business program. So
Hello.
It was like 4 months of just craziness, but it was like a lot of those kind of programs.
Cool.
Yeah, it was those kind of programs where they're focused on like selling to government and corporations. Some of them are 8 months, some of them are 4 weeks, some of them are 4 months. But usually what happened is when I do one, they sponsor me for another program, and then I find out about another one, and it just kept happening. But I'm taking a few months from not doing any because I've done a whole year straight of them.
You get like a certificate at the end? What do you get?
You get a certificate, but it's really is the community and the support that they provide to you after. I know, so it's also the people you meet, but right now, I guess 2 big things that I'm really trying to accomplish before the end of the year, with the help of the people that I've met, is what was it called? So there's a possibility that I might have a feature in the New York Times that's still in the works. And then one of them wants me to apply for the 30 under 30. So I'm gonna try
You
to get
should.
help with that.
It
Either
costs
this
a little
year
bit of
or
money
next
though.
year.
It's definitely
Yeah.
like they don't tell you that, but like to submit for it. But you should. That's amazing.
Yeah.
See, this is I'm so glad to hear this, because if we're like looking through the New York Times or looking through the Forbes 30 under 30 one year, and we're like, oh my God, yes, Usdan alum. We just saw it. This is so cool. So thank you for sharing that with us. We support you, and anything we could do to help make that happen, we will. But congrats. That's so cool. What a busy year for you.
Yeah. Way too busy.
Yeah, sounds like. Amalia, do you wanna end it out there?
Absolutely. So I have to piggyback off of what was said. I am so inspired by nature. Behind me is a sun, and there's an elephant, and there's a bird, and like a lot of nature inspires me. Even the way the sun is coming in, like, oh, I can make a mask, or like there were dots going down my face before. Like you can find inspiration anywhere. You walk outside the door, you can find inspiration. So if you're feeling stuck, you can go for a walk. Also, I'll piggyback off of what Marie said about, if you don't feel it, don't force it. Because I can't tell you how many times I wasn't feeling it, I forced it, and I ended up costing me. Instead of, like, if I'm painting, instead of me going forward, I make too many mistakes, and I end up regretting it.
It's a waste of time almost.
Right. I have some friends recently telling me there's no such thing as laziness, that it's all like a cultural concept of being lazy. So if you need to take a minute to step back and before you force anything, I think that's really important. To add a little bit of my own muses, I'm very, very inspired by music. I find whenever I have a creative block, especially classical music or jazz, something without lyrics in it, music is supposed to bring emotions to us. We're supposed to feel, we're supposed to see images in our head when we hear music. That's one lesson that I teach almost to all my classes. I always teach it.
Some of the students in the audience are like, oh wait, I have something to look forward to.
Yeah. So what I do is I play music, and I say, I do a demonstration of what you can do. Like, you can do abstract art, you can do realistic art, but I have never had a student say to me, I don't know what to draw. When you have music, it's such an inspiration for anybody. So I highly recommend, if you feel like you're going through a creative block, just find some music.
I love that piece of advice. Thank you, Molly. There's this, if you think about it, there's something beautiful about like the music that's continuing and that's flowing. So it almost like it energetically, we can't stop ourselves. It's like we have to go like with something. So even if we have nothing here, we just keep going, and eventually we'll probably go down a path. Oh, I love that. I'm going to remember that too.
And I would say any of the arts, watch a dancer, go to a theater play, there's so many different art types of art out there that we can build inspiration from.
So true. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. I have questions from the audience. Thank you guys for posting these. We're going to share some of them today. Let's see. Okay, so this is from an anonymous person. What's been one of your favorite reactions you've gotten to a project that you've worked on? Ignore the siren in the background. Either an interesting take on a project you had done that made you think about it a different way, or a compliment someone gave you to a piece you'll never forget. And Christina, if you wanted to you make this a bit more personal to you, we can kind of say something along the lines of like, have you had a specific reaction to a work that you've seen recently, or that, either or, it could be something personal that you were working on or something else. What's one of your favorite reactions you've gotten to a project you've worked on?
For me?
Right, anyone can answer this one.
I'll go first.
Please.
Like I said, I'm doing a lot of visual healing artwork, and I did a landscape of a Robert Moses Bridge recently. for a family who just recently lost their father. And it was a long process of painting. It was about like on and off for 2 years doing this oil painting. And when it was finally done, we had delivered it to the family, and, their reaction at first is like, wow, that's really cool. But then when they gave themselves a minute to really sit with this and be able to sit with their own emotions and be able to cry and be able to let out whatever they were holding in. And that was an extremely powerful reaction that I will never forget, that wanted me to continue doing this work.
Wow. What a gorgeous answer. I mean, yeah, that's what we want, right? In art, is to move people, is to allow people to feel their emotions, feel something they've been burying. I mean, that's one way of wanting a reaction from art. It's beautiful. Unless anyone else has, I can ask another question. So, Rebecca, oh, please go for it.
Sure. I guess my favorite reactions are really from the students and sometimes the staff of the places where we work. A lot of times, we had one school where the principal, this is the only school that's ever done this, but every single student in the school contributed to the painting of it, every single student. But when they were painting it and at the end, they were just extremely excited. They were telling their parents about it, and their parents were saying how they wouldn't stop talking about it. Sometimes when we're painting, we have some students who are like, I want to be like them, or like basically like stating like, oh, wow, like, like I want to do this, or like begging their teachers to let them come back and paint with us again. And sometimes we have the principals who come and paint, and they're like, man, I wish I could just do this instead of go back. And sometimes the teachers. So it's just like, usually people get this very happy therapeutic feel from just painting the murals. So that's usually, I guess, like one of the best reactions is just like the genuine happiness when they're painting and after the painting, like they get like this boost of happiness from painting the mural.
Wow. I can only imagine. I mean, especially with some of those murals that were there, the fact that everyone in that school contributed is really meaningful. Actually, this goes right into another question from Rebecca and Panina. Do you know of opportunities for artists ages 13 to 16 to make art that has a purpose other than the joy and the learning of more about art, of course? Do you know of anything that feels a bit more purposeful, but for a young age? And obviously, Marie, if you go to their school, that's a purposeful mural that they're making. But do you guys know of any opportunities offhand?
Thinking.
Yeah, thank you.
We recently, one of the projects that For Freedoms is most well known for is kind of disrupting our traditional advertising spaces with public artworks. And we've done multiple national campaigns, particularly on billboards. So putting artworks up on billboards. And most recently, we did a call for submissions to students around the country. It was in collaboration with another organization that is focused on education called XQ. And I'll put it in the chat. I think we're going to be doing another one soon, but really incredible artworks that students from all around the country contributed. And then I think 10 of them went up around the country as billboards.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's cool. Super cool. Do you, Olivia wants to know if you have any photos like now or even later of any of those.
They're in the
thing.
They're on the page that I just posted in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll look at it later because I don't. Oh, you guys could look at it, but I obviously have to continue to moderate, if you will. But I'm so excited to look at them after.
Yeah,
cool. And we'll put it also in the follow-up email. So thanks for sharing that. Great. Nuri wants to know. This is specifically a question for Amalia. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but how did you get started as an artist?
Oh my gosh, how did I get started? I probably walked into this world's drawing. I really, there wasn't a time where I wasn't drawing or painting, finger painting, using stickers to create stories. it's been a lifelong journey. I would say that I do believe, like Christina said earlier, I believe everybody can be an artist. It can be photography, culinary arts, dance, theater, music. Anybody can be creative. But I would like to say that I wouldn't be where I am now without a lot of the support that I had, because I'm sure when I was, for my first memories that I had, maybe in preschool or kindergarten, someone said to me, "Oh, that's really good. What you did is really good." And that, that kind of support and acknowledgement was really, really important. So I've been doing art my whole life. I would join certain classes when I was in middle school or high school. My mom and dad would sign me up for extra classes, portfolio prep for college. So that just continued and continued. So my advice, anyone out there, if you want to be an artist, the best advice that I've ever gotten was just keep going. Don't stop. If you keep creating, nothing will stop you. Just don't stop creating.
Love that. Part of me wants to end it there, but I also want to ask another question. We have 4 minutes, so I'm going to take it. But it was a great way to end on it. So I'll just pretend that this isn't happening. Marie, Wendy wants to know that because you said you went to FIT, did you ever do anything in fashion?
No, I don't think so. I actually almost didn't apply because I thought it was just a fashion school. And then my teacher was like, no, there's other stuff in there.
Yeah.
But I mostly just stayed in the art and the study abroad office and sometimes illustration. That was kind of my little community.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Illustration is another great way to go in the art world.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, one more question because we have the time. Can you talk more in detail, guys, about one of your favorite projects that you got to work on in those early collaborations with professional artists? And we have a couple minutes, so bear that in mind too.
I mean, I think the first one that I guess I have a lot of favorites, so it's really hard to choose.
Yeah.
But I think one of the first times I guess I collaborated with other artists, it was back in Florence, Italy, and we just had to prep for this exhibit. And there was just a lot of kind of like teamwork that had to go into it, visual wise, and putting it together. And that was something that I truly enjoyed. And it kind of helped me realize that I'm really good at kind of like managing other people and making sure that things are getting done and everything, that I'm one of those people.
That's a skill set. That's a natural born leader there.
Yeah, but that I really enjoyed kind of like that experience on the last few weeks. And it just really pushed me when I came back to try to have more experiences like that.
It seems like it taught you a lot about yourself too, from, now you have your own business. Excellent. Well, guys, first of all, panelists, thank you guys so much for doing this, for talking with us, for sharing your stories with us, the community. We support you. If there's any way we can support you, we're going to put a lot of your stuff in the follow-up email, but if you want to put anything in the chat for people, things that they can see of yours, social media, if you want to share anything, your website, anything that you feel like you'd want to share with people that they can continue. And then also to the audience, thank you guys so much for coming to this, right? We wouldn't be able to do this if there was no audience. And share this with people. Once the recording becomes available, share them with people that that might enjoy this. Be like, hey, this is really great. I learned a lot of stuff. Here's something that you might be able to learn too. Thank you. Specific shout out to Olivia and Kira for helping to organize this event, and for Lauren. And thank you so much. And we'll see you next month for dance. So we hope to see you there.